Here we are. We are live. Kim and I are just talking about,
Good morning.
yeah, like how to face in the right direction when you're recording because it's the opposite. So anyway, good morning, everybody. We are glad that we can spend a few minutes with our seven sisters. So welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking to Kim earlier about some of the clients that I get to work with because I my office is really near the University of Delaware, and so I get to work with a lot of college students. And a lot of times they will come to me kind of a little bit of existential crisis because they're in a major because they just had to pick something, when they applied, and they go
Yeah.
like, I don't even like these courses that have to do with the major.
Mm,
And I
mm.
thought, okay, let's go back and think about our kids. Like it is not unusual for young people to change majors once they get to college. That's not unusual. But
I almost feel like it's unusual to not change majors more than to change.
yeah, I read
Yeah.
statistics somewhere that it's
Yeah.
it's just really common.
Yeah.
But if we can reduce the number of changes or eliminate them altogether, that would be nice by doing some career exploration at
You
home.
bet.
So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
So we've done stuff with our kids. We figured that would be a good place to start.
yeah,
And we've done all different kinds of things, like career.
mhm,
You know us. We're seven sisters. If
yeah.
you know us, you know that there's not just one right way
No,
to do anything, right?
mhm, mhm,
And our kids and their career exploration has been a great example of that.
yeah,
So between us, we have 9 kids,
mhm,
and they've all done different things.
yeah,
So let's see. My oldest was very interested in like psychology kinds of things and human relationsy kinds
mhm,
of things, and she worked in a doctor's office, and she loves kids. So she did a lot of. So some of this, hers just happened to be part-time jobs,
uh-huh,
but that is
uh-huh,
not certainly not a limiting factor. You don't have to
yeah.
get paid for your career exploration, but if you can, that's kind of cool.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the point there being is any experience a teen has is going to
Hmm.
add to the richness of experience. Hey, we got someone from Michigan, so
Oh,
hey,
hey,
good
someone from
morning.
Michigan. Good morning.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
really
very
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so basically, career exploration, if you look at it traditionally, like kind of textbook definition, it's
Hmm.
kind of like a Venn diagram of different things. Oh, another one. Good
Hey,
morning, Sarah.
Sarah. Yeah.
Um, so you have a teen's experiences. What have they experienced in life so far? Because they will know by their experiences already, like if they hate math or they
Oh,
love
yeah.
math. Like so those things are rich. Um, if they were taking some art classes or played sports or went on field trips, like how
Mm,
many field trips have we been on?
yeah.
They it adds to what their brain can think about and talk about. So you've got the experiences and you've got role models, who are the people
Mm,
in their lives. And, sometimes teens are inspired by their pastors or a co-op teacher or their Uncle Joe or something like that, like that's a cool person. I think what they do is really neat. And so
mhm.
that's a part of the Venn diagram. And the next is what are their particular gifts and talents. So if I have 5 kids, 4 of the 5, if they had gotten the heads to be accountants, it would have been an utter disaster.
But
I
you had one that could teach himself calculus, so there you
well,
go.
yeah, I don't think it's
Yeah.
like a genetic fluke. I don't know where it came from. So he got a computer science major for undergrad because in high school he really enjoyed the problem solving of math and solving equations and stuff. It was just interesting to him, and
Mhm.
computers were interesting to him, and so it dovetailed because at his college computer science was a math major. So but the other kids it would be a disaster.
Mm,
So spending time exploring interests, and sometimes teens have too many interests,
mhm.
and so to let them kind of have a little bit of time in each so that they can kind of say, okay, this is fun for avocation, not so much fun for vocation. Who would want to do this
All
40
day
hours a
long
week and have to do it.
and have to do it for somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
that's
yes.
a big factor.
Yeah. And so you got that, and interests and gifts, and also values. So
Mm.
career values are things like, how much income do you have to
Mm.
have to feel okay? And
Mhm.
some folks are just very low need, and some, if they don't have a big house, they're going to think the world's falling apart. Have Some people need a very regulated schedule, a 9 to 5, and the things are very predictable. And some need to have adventure, and things change up, and we're going with the flow. Some Myers-Briggs kind of P kind of characters.
Yeah.
Um, and so there's all kinds of career values that you can explore with the kid. And that, I think, is a fundamental thing that a lot of young folks will miss. So like, if a kid was interested in psychology, and I keep pushing, please God, send more people
Great
into the
people.
field. But you go into that field not to have the huge, like, I've got $1 million house and 5 cars or anything like that. You go in it to serve. It's almost like a mission field. And so to know, what your necessities are. And so those are what career values are. And you put all these things together, kind of like a Venn diagram, and you hone in on some ideas. So, yeah. So we were trying to think about what our kids had done
Yeah.
during those high school years. So anyway, so you had your oldest, was working in a doctor's office, and she actually got her degrees in psychology.
Mhm.
And I run into her at the eye doctor, where that's where I go, and the girl uses her psychology degrees in that job. Like, she went with the flow that God gave her. And she manages people. And people are hard to manage, and she does
Yeah.
people dynamics like a rock star. So,
Mm.
her career path was interesting,
Yeah.
but she was really flexible with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At one point, she thought she was going to go to grad school and go on with her degree, and she kind of went a different direction.
Mhm.
But it meets her needs very well.
Yeah.
And she found, and in that part-time job in high school, kind of career exploring, kind of just making some extra money,
Mhm.
she's still with that same business
Yeah.
13 years later, and she's only 30 years old. So that's
Yeah.
pretty unusual. Yeah.
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 Well, they just weren't willing to let her go. So
No, yeah,
yeah.
it's been a match made in heaven. I say
Yeah.
there's a lot of benefit back and forth. Yeah. And then my next youngest, my son, he just fell in love with music kind of late.
Mhm.
He'd always loved to sing, but
Mhm.
kind of late in his high school life, he
Mhm.
got interested in playing guitar, and he was serving on the worship team, youth things, and church-wide things, and mission trippy things.
Mhm.
And so he thought maybe he wanted to be a music teacher, like Vicky's son.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where he started out, but he was very unsure. He really didn't.
Mhm.
He was one of those people. He went on a mission trip hoping God was going to hit him with a lightning bolt and say, "You will be a boom." And whatever that boom was, even if he hated it, he was going to be
Mhm.
willing to do it because somebody else was giving him some ideas.
Yeah.
Um, but we always joke he got a part-time job
Hi, Jean.
working for someone in the church. Hey, Gene, thank you. Oh, it's great to see somebody on the West Coast. Cool. We
Yeah.
got it. We got the whole country covered here. Um, and so he got a job teaching. He knew through someone we knew in church, teaching music classes to little kids. And I think it took him 2 classes to realize
Mm.
he has no
Mm.
problem with little people, but he
Uh-huh.
does not love them in the way that you should love them to work with them. He doesn't know how to, he doesn't want to be wiping noses and
Mhm.
doing all the important things that you do with little kids. So that
Mhm.
quickly helped him. And he's now in government and public policy, and it seems like a perfect fit.
What a good, yeah, and I could just so see him in that. But he needed to have those experiences to weed out things.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
one of the things that makes it such a perfect fit is because he figured out he's such a right and wrong and sense of justice kind of person that really
Yeah.
fits that value of his.
That's so
Yeah,
cool. So
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And
Yeah.
my younger two were very into athletics, and
Mhm.
actually, Mrs. Tillman, We didn't even know a field existed. And she mentioned to my one daughter, who also was very interested in psychology and how people think and how things work. And she said, do you know there's a thing called sports psychology? And voila, my kids did a lot of sports psychology because they were always learning how to do things, not just, on the ice or on the field or whatever.
Half of it's in your head. Yep.
It really is. And even the relationships and the team dynamics and the working with the coaches, all of that sort of thing. So that was perfect. So their career exploration largely was playing the sports that they loved and figuring, wow, there actually could be careers that are not playing sports, but that are supporting other people who are playing sports. And my other daughter actually got a sport management degree, and she just is starting a new job today. Yeah, today. She worked with a company that arranged international travel for high-level sports teams, which was a wonderful place to work.
Yeah.
Yay, World Strides. But she felt like it was time for a change. And now she works for a company that has an app called Team Snap. Some of you may even have kids that are using it or families that are using it. And that's a company that supports anywhere from your little league peewee kids up to, college teams. And so she's working with people, families and teams that work with their company to help them have a better team experience and take some of the burden off of them. So that what also gets at the values.
Yeah. So what your younger two valued were their athletics. Yeah. And that was so important. And they leaned into that through high school and through college. And were able then to find careers that fit well, because they had a clearly identified like interest, talent, and it was a value to them.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And then
tell us about your guys.
My daughter is a professional photographer, and she's one of those rare kids who came to me, like most kids are not like this, but she came to me when she was like 8th or 9th grade. I'm going to be a photographer when I grow up. I don't know where she got it from. She just knew it. And I felt like, how are you going to earn a living being a photographer? How's that going to happen? And so I did everything I could to give her other experiences, early childhood education, psychology, let's do an internship. And she goes, well, that's nice, but I'm going to be a photographer. So finally, one of our homeschool friends said, before I got married, I was a wedding photographer, and I made a good living on doing that. And I goes, I guess I better just lean into this. Is like, okay. So we started her junior year at our local community college, getting her some courses because I don't know anything about photography. And we'd done through all the dummies books and everything.
Got her as far as you could go.
Yeah. And so she graduated from the community college certificate program in photography when she graduated high school, and then got a double major in photography and digital stuff in college. And now she's a professional photographer, and she's photographed our state governor, the state poet laureate. Like, she's got this very thriving business.
And she's phenomenally great at it too. Oh, her pictures are amazing.
And so we were lucky with that, and to have the humility to trust God after I had to have a nudge from another mom. That He can, if you lean into it and say, okay, we're going to make this work. And then my another one of my kids, was my youngest, loved music, and so that was clear. Not much else was clear. So we do all the different kind of experiences that we could have, so he did some sports, and he did, debate team and rhetoric and choirs and all that. But all of the choir directors, ever since he was like knee high, said, when that boy sings, his face lights up, and so, he finally went to college, and he says, music isn't a very sensible major. And so I'll be a marketing major. And because that's sensible. And I go like, okay, all right, well, we'll see how this goes. And but he just needed actually the college advisor says, well, what do you really love to do, when he was setting up his courses? And he says, well, I want to be sensible, but I really do love music. So the advisor put him in one vocal group thing. And so he took his first class, and the director of the music program says, "Why aren't you a music major?" And so hearing it from the director of the program, he goes like, oh, okay, well, we'll just, like trust God, what's going to happen with this. And then he stayed willing to really be involved in the program, and they had marvelous networking and all kinds of experiences. And somewhere along the line, he realized he wanted to share music with young people so that they would have a community music experience in their lives. And so now he's a elementary music teacher, like he would not have dreamed he could make a living, but it is like he just loves those little kids, and they just think, oh, Mr. Tillman.
Oh my, yes.
And so that, like we can trust God, but it's the experiences, I think, that really help flesh out things. So anyway, we're going to spend a couple weeks on this, because it's just heartbreaking to see kids all stressed out about it, and we can help de-escalate some of that stress. And we can at least help them trust God with the process. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Kim?
Well, I think just like stay tuned, because we've got at least a couple more parts to this kind of series. And if there's things that you want to talk about, or there things that you're seeing in your students, either things that they're, kind of in tune to, and how do I help do even more with this? Or my kid has absolutely no idea, how do I help them even get started enough to know where to explore? Just let us know what's on your heart and what's going on in your lives and your kids' lives, and how we can help.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Send us a comment or a message, because you're our seventh sisters. We're all in this thing together. So, yeah. All right. Well, God bless y'all. We'll see you next week.
Have a great one. All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.